Welcome everyone. Wait, I don't have my apron on. Hey everyone, let's get this bread. That's right, we're making good old whole wheat organic bread using the only finest ingredients you can find on planet Earth. So, you're gonna need several ingredients. I'll list them right here for you. So you want to go ahead and start off with 3 cups of water, heat it up to around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So I already have water at that temperature, about more or less. It doesn't have to be precisely 110 degrees, just around within that range. So you want to go ahead and pour that into your mixing bowl. And so you don't lose the heat of your water, you want to go ahead and throw in a tablespoon of active yeast. And so I have these little packets with these little yeast beads inside of them. It averages out to around 2 to 1/4 teaspoons each packet, and I only need a tablespoon, so let's measure that out, shall we? I have my tablespoon of yeast, and you want to go ahead and throw it into your warm water and mix it in quite vigorously. So after you stirred in the yeast in for a little bit, you want to go ahead and throw in 2/3 cups of honey. So let's do that right now. We got our nice, it's not even open. Oh my gosh, what is it with people not opening things before we record? So go ahead and pour out 2 1/3 cups of honey. Be careful not to get the entire comb in if you get it with comb. All right, honey, let's go. Woo! There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, put in 2/3 cups of honey in it and stir it up real well. And after you stir it up real well, you want to let it sit for 5-10 minutes until you see a foam, and that will be guaranteed proof that the yeast is indeed alive. So let's go ahead and pour in the last cup. So as you can see, the yeast has foamed slightly. It wasn't foaming at first, I just had to stir it much more vigorously, but for the most part, next time a good idea would be to make sure your yeast is actually alive. Just take a little teaspoon of it and put a little teaspoon of sugar along in hot water from 110 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit and see if it foams then to make sure it's alive. Because the yeast feeds on the sugars, and when it foams up, that's the carbon dioxide being produced by it, by feasting on the sugars. And so that's a little bit of science for you. I don't know, I'll put some science somewhere on the side or wherever. So after we have that foamed up, you want to go ahead and throw in the majority of the remainder of the ingredients. So take your cooking oil, we're going to use canola. Put in 1/3 of that in here. And you also want 1 tablespoon of salt in there too. But you want to go ahead and get your dough hook for your kitchen mixer, because you're gonna go ahead and pour in 7 cups of whole wheat flour into this sucker. I don't have a measuring cup. 7 cups. Now I know the recipe calls for 7.5 cups. The half will come in a bit later, like a lot of recipes do. All right, let's take this to the stand. See, the dough has become very nice, almost practically not sticking to the sides anymore. But this is where you're going to add the remaining 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour. So I'm going to throw that in. and set it to go. So once you're done with your dough, you'll be able to tell it's like almost ready to go. But there are a few steps before we get to the final phase, the kneading. Well, no, I guess it's technically phase. So once you're done turning your dough, if your stand mixer is capable of kneading the dough by itself, by all means, let it knead the dough for 10 minutes. But if you don't, well, don't worry, we still have hands, or elbows, or feet if we have to get to that point. The importance of kneading is that it helps the glutens within the bread of the dough solidify and form stronger bonds between each other. And the test that you can determine whether the gluten is actually compact is known as the window pane test. I call it the stretchy test. You just stretch out the dough, and if you can stretch it without it breaking, then it's good to go. But for the most part, we do that right now. Yeah, it still pretty much tears. So we want to go ahead and do what we got to do. So first of all, you want to go and prep the surface of where you're going to be kneading your dough with some extra of the flour that we'll be using. In this case, whole wheat flour. Just sprinkle it along, rub it along the board, rub your hands with it. It will help make the dough not stick to the surface while you're kneading it, as well as to your hands. So just rub your hands with it. Once you're done, you want to go ahead and put your dough out onto the work surface. So let's go ahead and do that. It's not coming out that willingly, right? So you want to go ahead and scrape it off, either using your hands or a tool that you might have. But this is looking pretty good already. Whoa, whoa, but it's sticky, see? It's already sticking to my hand. So what we'll do is we'll plop it onto the board and go ahead and knead it. So you want to go ahead and knead the dough for 10 minutes. And the way you do it is you just want to press against it using the palms of your hands. Just press down on it. And this will create the air and friction that the gluten needs to develop. And all you want to do is you want to flatten it as far as you can on the board or on the surface, and then do a quarter turn, fold it towards you, and then do the same, pushing down, force again. If it starts sticking to the board, starts sticking to your hands, again, rub your hands with a little bit more flour, rub the dough with a little bit more flour, the surface with more flour. Flour is good in this case, so don't be shy in using more than you need to. Feel free to deliver a few punches as well. Anything to make these 10 minutes go by flying, all right? So any technique, it's welcome to do it. So 10 minutes are up. Been kneading and beating this bread for quite a while. So normally in this process we want the bread to rise. However, this recipe involves putting the bread into the oven so it can rise. So let's get this bread into the oven. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and break this into 2 loaves. Put it on 2 pans with parchment paper. I ain't greasing no more. Been betrayed too far along by good old grease. Grease is no longer my friend. I am now best friends with parchment paper. And you want to throw it into the oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes. And the breads, you'll see, they will double in size. That's why you should split them in half and have 2 pans of their own, because one giant thing like this is massive. So yeah, let's get to work. Let's acquire this baguette. Let's yeet this wheat. Let's beta this pita. Shall we? So once we have seized the sourdough and acquired the toast, we throw it into the oven for 20 minutes like I said, and you'll see that it will rise over time. Once the 20 minutes are up, you want to change the temperature in the oven to 350 degrees. Leave it there, don't take the bread out, let the temperature gradually rise, and once it reaches 350 degrees, set that timer to 25 minutes. Pull the bread out of the oven, you'll have some perfect bread to go with whatever it is you want to eat. This has been Cooking with Food. Now let's get this bread. Let's eat this bread.